Most of them are from the last year, or say maybe a year and a half. One of them was from the tail end of the tour that I'd written half of it on the tail end of the tour, which is Don't Call Me Up. That was the sort of thing I used to play that backstage where I was warming up for the shows, the last Stones tour of Europe. And but yeah, it's nearly all recent things, the last year or so, and just working them out in my house and different hotel rooms around the world and so on. I had a bit of a collapse after the Stones tour. I didn't really think about what I wanted to do. And then, when I started to work again and started to write, I thought, well, I think it's been a very long Stones project, a very long tour and album and all that. So I thought, it's probably a good time to actually do a solo album now and not go into another Stones album. Because otherwise, you never do them. It'd be another, it could be another 3 years before if you do another big Stones project, it can be another 3 years before you can get to do this. So you've got to put it in this time frame. The thing is that you do write an incredible amount of stuff in the writing. You don't just write the 12 songs that come on the album, and you can't use everything. So you tend to. You can do. I mean, I just write. I just pick. You think, okay, this is my next project. I'm going to pick the songs, the 12 best songs as far as I can see. But a lot of times you overlook things that are really, really good that you maybe don't really like at the time. You can always go back and rework them. But I don't sort of consciously put one to one side and think this is Mick Jagger and this is the Rolling Stones. I just pick the best songs. I don't think like that. Though I think that the Rolling Stones has a personality that fits certain kinds of music, and on this project maybe there's some songs that wouldn't readily fit into a Rolling Stones personality, but that's just intellectualizing it. A lot of times there's no harm in something that you don't really think that would fit into the Rolling Stones. Perhaps you should try it with them, So you just write what you can at the time. Next project, you just write that for that. I wanted to feel that you were directly talking to, singing and playing to the listener, and I wanted to feel that it was a very easy communication and not too much in the way. It was always feel that I was singing directly for you or at you, if you want. I just felt that it wanted to be nearly all made up of songs that you could just play on the guitar to somebody. And if it could keep that spirit, then you were trying to get to that stage where you're having a very personal record. I didn't know what was going to happen lyrically. I never really know what's going to happen lyrically. I just write and overwrite, and then pick the songs that will give a good balance of moods. The problem is that sometimes you can just you write too many of one kind of songs, too many romantic songs, and it gets rather dull, and you're just repeating yourself. So you've got to write enough with enough breadth of emotion to keep people's attention. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that you feel that you can open up a little bit more because the Rolling Stones has a different persona to you. I think if you're doing a project like this, you think, oh, I can be a little bit more confessional. That's what's good about this project. You can be more confessional. You can open up a little bit more. And you don't have to take anyone else's points of view in, and you don't have to take the personality of a band in. Well, it's a good coverall term for a sort of love song, really. I mean, some of the songs are like, not perhaps confessional, but they're kind of intimate, you might say. We mentioned Don't Call Me Up, and that's a very kind of like a love letter to someone. And New Set of Rules is kind of similar. Other ones have other stories to tell, perhaps with Too Far Gone. It's not really a love song at all, but it's about the past and how the past attaches itself to the future and the present, and how they're all interconnected, and what I feel about things that have disappeared and so on. So it's a song about present and past. It's not really about love, but it's still very personal. I don't have anyone that I would sort of run to and say, You know, what do you think? I mean, eventually, I haven't got to that point as we're talking now. I haven't actually got to that point of playing it to people. I mean, like Pete Townsend. I sent the record to Pete Townsend, and he said, "Oh, I really love it." And I said, "Which ones do you like?" He said, "Oh, I like Joy." I said, "But Pete, that's the one you're on. You're bound to say, you're really going to say that, aren't you?" I said, "But I really love it. I really love it." And I said, "Oh," I said, "Great." But you can't. You know, that's someone that's involved. So I haven't really got any feedback. People, yeah, sure, and that critics and people have told me they like it, but people that I know, I haven't really got any feedback on it. I thought about it, and what I didn't really want to do, I had a sort of negative attitude to it in some ways, that I didn't really want to work with a lot of people that I'd never heard of and didn't know, just for the sake of, you know, oh God, they got #1 record, I'll work with them. You know, I didn't really want to do that. I mean, you're sort of tempted to do some of that because you know, working with people you don't know is always like a fun experience. Most of the people on this I knew already in some way. I'd met them and been out with them or on tour with them for a while or something. So how I came to that was really making it like people that were family and friends, really, and it felt like that kind of record. You know, people that would say to me, "I hear you're making a solo record. Did you, you know, I mean, isn't there something I can do on it?" And the problem is that you really sort of feel like, well, okay, and you have to figure how is that going to work, and how, you know, if you're halfway through, you don't know really if there's anything that's going to fit them, you know, fit into their style. For instance, when we done the song of the Bono sings on, which is called Joy. You know, I thought that's a perfect one for Bono, but you never know if they're going to really like it for a start, because in principle they like the idea of it. When you get there, you know, they say, well, okay, this is the tune, you know, because they very rarely want to hear it before. Just get in the studio and say, okay, this is it. And now and I think that Bono brought out another dimension and melody line in that song. Like Rob Thomas is like a very focused pop writer, and I'd like his songs, the way he approaches the melodies and things. It's very different to the way I would write melodies. So it was kind of fun to work with him, because it's fun to do writing with people that you never worked with before, because I just like to see how differently they work as compared to you. I mean, he's pretty old-fashioned. He just sits there with a guitar and beats out the tune and says, okay, so what the lyrics are going to be, and it's all got to be done in like 2 hours, you know, and then you're finished, which is good, because lots of other people prevaricate and like want to take it home in days, and this way you get it just done in the day, which is great. Yeah, I mean, it makes you think, oh, I could go that, you know, you just take you in other directions than what you're normally used to, which is what the whole point of doing a project like this is to take you off slightly in another direction. I mean, I didn't want to go completely and do an album of sort of lush 30s ballads or something. That really wasn't my intention, but I think it pulls you away from your norm enough to wake you up a bit. I think, first of all, on this record, you want to be proud of the collection of songs you've done, and that's the first thing you know, are these songs, you know, interesting? Do they come from your heart? Are they sincere? Do they touch on enough subjects to keep you know, me interested? Is it varied enough? And then, you know, how have you treated them? If you've given them enough imaginative treatment and so on. I mean, that's really the thing. It's to, you know, you have to please yourself first. It's all to do with pleasing yourself, and you don't really think how other people are going to react, how other people are going to think. At the beginning, you know, it's only later on that comes in there, whereas critics will say one thing or another, and people that normally like your music will say another thing. That's all kind of coming afterwards. The very first thing you have to do is to please yourself. I think you stay away from it mostly. I mean, sometimes I have a few lines about that, but I don't think this record was really like that. You know, I think you just try and take that as part of your life. It's sometimes very intrusive. When you're working, I find it very difficult to deal with it sometimes, because it's like using all your energy to go off on something else. And there was quite a lot of intrusion while I was making this record, really. So, but I'm quite used to it. So yeah, I mean, I know Matt for 10 years, and Matt was playing keyboards on Rolling Stone's Steel Wheels, and he was playing on that CD. And yeah, we've done some other collaborations, but this was like the most we've ever done. And Matt was very helpful to me because he's like a real good sounding board for my songs, and he would like program the drums and at the very beginning and give out ideas, and which I would say, yeah, it's great, or that's actually crap, I'm not going to do it like that. He was very encouraging also. So, you need someone that's going to, sometimes you get a bit despondent about this, because it's quite a lot of work, and so you get a bit despondent. So he was a very encouraging, very funny guy, and he played really nice keyboards on the record and helped with the production. So he's been there all the way through. I think for him it was hopefully a good experience, and he did a lot more than he's ever done before, I think. Well, yeah, I play guitar on everything, every song really. I've never played so much guitar on a record. That was really satisfying for me, because I had to learn, as I went along. I mean, I did a lot more things. I get a bit shy sometimes about guitar playing, but in the studio you can do lots of techniques that you wouldn't maybe try on stage. You can do things, and I was having a real good time playing guitar, lots of different styles and things. I had a real good fun with that. Yeah, I mean, I like to take the best things out of technology. Technology in recording in the last 3-4 years has changed tremendously, and music's changed completely. The way technology has changed the way music's played, though some people wouldn't say played even, since computers are used in the studio. But I mean, the advent of like really simple to use computer programs for recording has made it much cheaper. For one thing, it's much cheaper, it's much more portable, and it's much easier to correct mistakes. All these things were done in an old-fashioned way of recording. There's nothing new being done in that area. They just took a lot longer to do. Therefore, it was much more unwieldy. The other thing with technology is that you can use the technology to create things which didn't exist before. So, this is still in its infancy in a way. It's still finding ways to create. I mean, the problem with it is that it gives you so many options. It's like that if you delay making decisions, you end up with like 140 events that you've not chosen. Well, I'm enjoying. I mean, it started off just a really just simple idea, the verse, and I'm just going with this sort of spiritual idea. And I thought, well, okay, we're in the world of gospel. I don't know if I want to be there, but I thought, okay, I'm going to finish this and see where we go. And started to get all these different hooks, different guitar lines and things. I mean, it's not really gospel tune, really. It's more like a sort of combination between a rock tune and a sort of gospel tune. And Bono adds this sort of rather odd melody lines, and he's got this very stream of consciousness thing at the end. It's kind of fun, and a lot of people that don't normally like this kind of thing like this track. I don't know. I mean, it really rocks as well. So I kind of like this track, so I'll put it near the front of the CD. Pete, I thought was a really perfect one for him. I mean, the beginning sounds a bit like one of the old Who electronica things from the 70s or something. I can't remember which one it is. Won't Get Fooled Again, I think it's. I mean, Pete played really brilliantly. I went to see the Who playing in the Albert Hall, and I thought that Pete was just perfectly on. His guitar playing at the moment is really so spiky and so incisive, and the timing's perfect. So he took like so quick to get these tunes off, and he rattled them through them. He just got them right. If he made a mistake, he stopped. But he was so quick. I think he's on top of his game actually. Dancing Style is a sort of rather abstract, slightly amorphous jam. It's a little bit about trying to find oneself in the sort of within the pressures of modern life. So it's sort of almost danceable though. It's almost danceable with strings. It's very swaying through the sort of string section. I feel like I'm just floating through it somehow. No, not the Lord as such. No, I mean, I think that in passing, and some of the songs are very focused on that, like Joy, and the others are just really touching the borders of it. I mean, I could have just rejected it and just with a little shift, just edged it completely out, and you wouldn't have hardly noticed it, and just did one song, like I would do a song for on the Stones record, like "Shine a Light" or something like that from the Exiles. And but I just let those influences just come, and I hope I didn't overdo them. They just like creep in at the edges of some of the tunes. You know, I make 3 tunes that they come in on, and then they're sort of rather balanced by like very violent songs, but like "Gun," which is again what Pete Townsend plays on. That with a big sort of string section, but it's a very violent lyric, and I was very slightly perturbed when I did that, thinking, I don't know, this is really where I want to be. You know, it's the same with the sort of spiritual things. It's like, well, is this where I want to go? And so I just kind of, instead of rejecting those, I just let them stay. So "Gun" remains with a little bit of levity in the verses, but it's still a very tough song, and really surprised me when I wrote the chorus. I don't think it's necessarily hard, and now I suppose people are worried about repeating themselves. It's kind of, for some people it's hard, I suppose. I think you've got to be pretty energetic to write a really good rock song. You've got to be really, you can't just repeat yourself, you've got to be really full of energy to write a good rock song. God Gave Me Everything was really done very fast. I mean, we messed around with it a lot afterwards, and then we actually just went back to the real beginning of where we started. We added things, and then we just took everything away. Because I just kept saying, well, we should try this, we should try that. And the lyrics were written quickly, and I think that Lenny wrote the chord sequence quickly, and he just threw the thing at me and said, okay, this is it. I arrived in Miami, and he said, well, this is the track. I said, well, what's the top line? There's no melody. He said, well, I don't have any words, and I don't have a melody, so, okay, fine. He said, well, can you do it now? And I said, well, I don't know if I can do it, because I like to take things and think about them a little bit. Sometimes you want to sleep on them. But I just did it right then and there, and that's really, and the writing and the vocal all in the same day. And I think that gives it a very fresh sound. Well, I mean, I like Lenny, but I'd never written with him. Last time we were supposed to write songs, all we did was end up like going out partying all night. We never did any writing. We tried writing, we didn't get anywhere. We said, oh, fuck it, we give up, and we're going out. And we ended up doing a duet on a song, but it was an old song. I can't remember what it was called. We said, okay, this time we're actually going to write the song. And so we did. Well, it's like really that song's about being lucky and feeling you're lucky in your life, be thankful for what you have, and it can apply to most people. Be thankful you're alive and seeing, good in everything as well. That's what's really the subject of it. I mean, I did on that day. You don't always feel like that. Some days are good and some aren't. Yeah, I mean, Hideaway started off in this very sort of like a real soul music kind of, very kind of traditional soul music thing. But then I saw it going more, when I was doing the demo of it, it was starting to go much more hip-hop, and I thought, well, maybe I should get sort of someone to do a hip-hop, because I know I'd already talked to Wycliffe about doing something, and I took it to him and played it, and he really liked it. I mean, he's a fun guy to work with because he's very broad musical guy. He's like does everything from the Pink Floyd to Haitian love songs on its last record. And he prides himself on that. And I think that's a really good trait. It's not very common in hip hop artists really to be that wide and that broad and also that knowledgeable. And he was really good fun to work with. I enjoyed it. He's a laugh as well, so it makes it easy. Well, he's Haitian background, and the guys that work with him are too, so he'd be inevitably like... I mean, when he sings, he sounds so much like Bob Marley. It's pretty uncanny, actually. And he plays really odd little bits, and it's very Caribbean influence. So it went a bit hip-hop, Caribbean sort of rock influence. But the song is a little bit about going to the beach as well, so it has that kind of vibe. Yeah, that and Visions of Paradise, maybe. But pop in a different way. Yeah. I'd like to try my hand at all kinds of things. I mean, I think the Rolling Stones in the early days did loads of pop, We were pushed heavily by our management at the time into doing pop. Started out as a blues band. And doing pop was kind of a bit strange. But And we haven't I haven't done a lot of pop lately. I seem to have veered away from it. And I don't mind. I mean, I wouldn't do a whole record like that, I don't think. But it's nice. It's good to do, you know, so I can do this. This is like something I could do, and I have done, and I like to do it now. I think that's good. Well, it's not really that old. It's a couple of years old. But, I mean, that's like a kind of, you know, very emotive love song. And I played it to a friend of mine. She burst out crying. I said, "Was this a good result or a good result? I don't know." I said, "Well, why cry?" Well, that's happened to me, you know. And that's what you do with these songs. If someone else, well, I've had that experience, and that's really what it is. That you feel, well, I've told that story in the right way. That's communicated to someone. Goddess in the Doorway. Goddess in the Doorway is really it's about the elusive nature of woman, you know, that you look for her, she's gone, she's vanished. And someone said to me earlier today, but you say about the pay, you have to pay a lot or something else. I mean, it's really just about if you want to play the game, you know, you're going to probably have to pay in the end. Well, I just was talking titles to people, and everyone said, "Oh, I like that title." I said, "Well, yeah, you might like the song, but it's a good title." Titles are very strange things. I play with other ideas for titles, but this is the one that I had to say. You know, and I'm a person that always puts the title on last. You know, so once I've plumped for it, I can't change it because it's right there at the end. So, Lucky Day was started off exactly like this kind of rather lurching reggae feel. It was always like that. It's about someone that's been in Los Angeles for too long and is not getting, you know, very far in life, and saying, "Oh, it's time for you to get out of there." It's not about me feeling lucky. It's about, you know, you're lucky to have me to tell you this. This is your wake up call. But I mean, it's quite fun playing this kind of lurching music. And this track was one of the tracks that was cut very live with the band, so it feels different to the others in that way. I mean, it's like the one song that people have said it sounds a bit like a Stone, you know, could be on a Stones album, and yeah, it's very straight, pretty straight message, but it's really about party song. It's a party song and just an observation song about movie business, really. Yeah, we talked a little about Too Far Gone. I mean, it could be. I mean, it's almost a country song, and it could be done straight country. But I didn't really want to do. One of the things on this piece of work was that I said I'm not going to do country music but I always usually do, and this is almost country music. So I just changed the beat a little bit so it didn't sound too country, but it really is country in the way it's put together and the tune and everything. It's about the connection of the past and the present and the future, and how things have changed, and how people's attitudes to change, how they are, and how you're always connected to your past. But, you know, you don't want to be. I mean, I start off by the disclaimer that I'm not nostalgic, then I go into a whole nostalgia rap. I like the tune. People seem to like that song. For a while, I've known them for like 20 years. And Joe would come to a lot of the last tour, and I said, "Well, if I do a solo record, would you like to play?" He said, "Yeah." But I never got to be in the studio with him because he was working on Aerosmith. But so he did that on his own in Boston. So 5 of the songs were done with Marty Fredrickson, who produced the Aerosmith album, who's like very LA, very American, you know. But he's a really focused producer, and I think he gets, you know, the best out of a song. It's really good to have someone around like that. He's very, very precise. And he went and did the Joe Perry parts, and I wasn't actually there. But I think they worked out good. In the old days, they were very copycat. But I mean, they have their own really good sound now, I think. A totally different sound. This is a sort of love song of Promises, Promises. And a friend of mine said, and they listened to the song, I said, "Well, for a minute, I almost believed you." And it's about how you're going to change, and whatever you want, I'll do it for you. Which is a pretty traditional theme, lyrical theme. And this is a very traditional song to end the CD. You know, where it's played in a very traditional way with a band and live and everything. and with the two young daughters singing ooh backgrounds. It's a nice romantic thing to finish the album with. One of the little one, George, just wandered in and said, I want to sing on this song, so I had to figure the part out she was going to sing. It's like, you know, people say, I want to sing, I want to play, and you go, okay, let me figure out what you're going to do. And I said to her, okay, can you sing this? Ooh. And she just did it straight away, so I figured she could really do it. It's not a problem. We've got some sweet video of them doing it, big tall one and a little one. Well, I was asked so many times by the people I know in like television in England, and BBC and Alan Yentob and everyone to do, will you please do this documentary? Will you do this? Will they do this? And I sort of said no for ages, and I thought, well, around this project maybe I should do it. So I just started picking up a video camera myself and bought myself a couple of different ones, and started shooting, writing the songs. I would just give the camera to someone and say, okay, can you just shoot me while I write this song? So I'm writing the lyrics, so maybe that'd be good. And then I would just give the camera to anyone, to kids, to friends, to Matt Clifford, to anyone. And then we'd just start shooting. And then after about 3 months, I thought, well, this is kind of fun. And we did an edit of it and looked at it, and I thought, well, okay, maybe I should get someone now involved who's going to do professionally a bit. But we still kept it in the style of more or less a home movie. It's really about two strands. It's about making this record and making the movie Enigma and producing that movie, and then both of them finishing almost at the same time, coming out more or less, you know, in the same couple of months. And so that sort of plots these two projects. Yeah, it's very encouraging. I mean, it's very hard work. That particular project was hard work for whatever problems it had. I mean, every project has its great good points, and every project has difficulties. You know, you're never going to get anywhere without that. But no, it was a fun project in a lot of ways. Very intellectually stimulating, and it's had it's opened in this country to some success. So that's very gratifying. Difficult business, a movie business, because you need a lot of money and you need a lot of effort and a lot of teamwork, huge teamwork. No, I mean I've got lots of other projects which I hope to push forward, but it's very hard balancing the two kind of strands of my life. But I think I can manage it. It's very, very similar. What you do is you get the best out of everyone. You've got to pick the best team as far as you can pick them. And then when you pick them, you've got to make sure they get on, and you've got to make sure that they give of their best. And in that way, they're tremendously similar. I see my job is to keeping the vision of all these things intact, and because you can lose your way a bit. So that's the job, that's my role. Right, nice to talk to you.